political unrest and widespread protests, Belarus is at the centre of European Union's emergency meet today. EU leaders will meet to discuss their response to the crisis in Belarus, which may include sanctions. EU has already agreed to impose sanctions on Belarusian officials after President Lukashenko cracked down on protests triggered by a disputed election. The European Union does not usually convene emergency summits to discuss foreign policy, but European Council President Charles Michel called for an extraordinary Wednesday meeting on video conference. The 27 EU leaders will also discuss what other support they can extend to Belarus. Germany is mediator in the current crisis currently and holds the rotating presidency of the Council of European Union. EU foreign ministers agreed to draw up sanctions proposals against Belarus last week, but the EU has not yet explicitly called for Lukashenko to step down. The list is expected to be presented at the end of next week, but first it has to be determined who exactly is responsible for electoral fraud and for ordering violence against protesters and detainees. Last week, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó called for better dialogue with Minsk. Poland, the Czech Republic, the three Baltic states and Denmark have all called for EU mediation between Lukashenko and the opposition. The political opposition in Belarus has set up a council inside the country which is denounced by Lukashenko as an attempt to seize power. Many of Belarus's major opposition figures are either in jail or in exile, including opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, who fled the country earlier. Ahead of the EU meet, Svetlana has urged EU leaders to reject the results of the presidential election, which sparked massive protests and saw strongman leader Alexander Lukashenko claim a sixth term in the August 9 polls.
I call on you not to recognize these fraudulent elections. Mr. Lukashenko has lost all the legitimacy in the eyes of our nation and the world. In order to facilitate the peaceful transition of power in my country, I have initiated the National Coordination Council of Belarus. Honorable leaders of Europe, I call on you to support the awakening of Belarus. I call on all countries to respect the principles of international law. I call to respect the sovereignty of Belarus and the choice of Belarusian people.
EU diplomats in Brussels said they hope that the summit would send a strong signal of solidarity to the opposition in Belarus. Calling on President Lukashenko to resign, the wave of protests in Belarus has entered its 10th day. Thousands of demonstrators gathered at the Independence Square in central Minsk, waving the red and white flags of the opposition and calling on President Alexander Lukashenko to resign.